I am all for sugarcoating things and making things sound a little bit better. But the truth is that there is a price to pay when it comes to freedom of being a gig worker. And that's why we're going to talk about the price of being a gig worker. And I'm not talking about the actual dollar figure. I'm talking about mentally the price that you're going to be paying for being a gig worker. Like, for example, did you know that if you're going to be a gig worker, you're going to be faced with a lot of competition? By competition, it can be for something like accepting an order. You want to be the fastest at accepting an order. You want to be the person that hits the most amount of money. You have the restaurants that could be competing. And what I mean by that is some of them place bets on what driver is going to wait the longest to get their order because they find it fun and amusing. Now, that's not always the case when it comes to restaurants, but sometimes it is. It is a constant competition. And me being a gig worker, I compete against me. So I try to blur out all the other stuff. But if I'm going to brace you for things that you're going to have to be aware of and, essentially tell you the price of what's going to be coming, that is something that's going to be coming. Now, another thing that comes to you when you become a gig worker is the endless thought process of being in your head because you have 20, 30, 40 minutes sometimes in between orders where you're not getting anything. You'll be lucky if you wait 40 minutes and then you get a good $26 order, but essentially that's tough. But if you are somebody that does not like to be at your head, in your head rather, at all times, gig working might not be for you. Not everybody sits down with a good book. Not everybody records a YouTube video. Not everybody's browsing on their phone. So if you're somebody that's in your head a lot, be prepared to be in your head a lot more when it comes to being a gig worker. Now the next thing, and this is definitely a price for freedom. I understand that a lot of people are parents. I am a mother myself. And a lot of people have been dismissed from jobs for taking sick days, for example, for attending to their child. Now, the freedom of that schedule is the fact that you're going to constantly be chasing the dollar. Rather, you can only do this at lunchtime, you can only do this at dinner time, or you can only do this in the in-between hours. If you're going to be a gig worker, you're going to be constantly chasing the dollar. Myself, I like to work dinner shifts. I don't actually like it. I have to. And I'm fortunate enough that I can go out during those busy hours and do that. But as a gig worker, chasing the dollar is a pain in the you-know-what, because sometimes you can't even chase it, which is going to go into the next one. Your busiest days are sometimes your slowest. So you're trying to chase that dollar, and you're thinking, you know what, I'm going to go out on this Saturday evening and I'm going to make a good buck. Well, here's the thing. For example, I'm recording this in January. We are currently going through inflation costs. There is a recession going on. So sometimes your busiest days are actually your lousiest days. And your lousiest days, like a Wednesday or a Tuesday, can sometimes be your best days. The problem is you have no idea which one is going to be which. You kind of have to find out by going out there and determining it. Last Saturday, I was lucky that I made $105 for 5 hours, 4 hours, I don't remember. It's on my community post. But in comparison to what I can make on a good day, I've made, for example, in 5 hours, $144. That's the difference between a Friday and a Saturday. So the fact that Saturday was quieter for me than a Friday was rather surprising, but sometimes that happens. Here's something you might have not known too. When it comes to being a gig worker, sometimes other drivers can be huge jerks. Huge. They're going to cross you off in a parking lot. They are going to butt in when you're first to get your order. They are going to turn around and they are going to steal the food. They make us good guys look bad by going in without having a thermal bag, even though there's signs everywhere that's requesting it. They could just be jerks. So if you're trying to be buddies and pals with other gig workers, that's fine. But keep in mind, not everybody is all buddy and pal. Some people are just here to work, but some people are here to work and they have a negative mindset and they take it out on either drivers or also clients. And by the way, to the drivers that decide to take the next person's food because the first person decided to tip bait you, stop being a jerk. It's not the next person's fault. They think they're going to hurt Uber by doing so, and all you're doing is disturbing a new customer, which is going to be a bad influence towards us good guys that want to get that good orders. But additionally, you're robbing the restaurants because not always the restaurants get paid back. Just saying. And the next one kind of goes like this with a few questions for you. Are you somebody that's looking to make a profit on the side? Are you somebody that's looking to keep your car in tip-top shape? Are you somebody that expects that at the end of doing gig work, you are going to have less kilometers than you thought you would? Because if you answered yes to all of these questions, gig work is not for you. So gig work is expensive. If you have a used car, your car does not know what used is until you put it through gig work. Essentially, I'm lucky because I do part-time YouTube, part-time gig work, so I get monthly income and I get weekly income. But I'm not busting out 40 hours a week to do gig work. I do a lot less. But I know so many people that are hustlers in this gig economy, and they make a good penny to do so, but their car has some wear and tear. So if you do not have some money on the side, when it comes to being a gig worker to supplement for your car, you're not going to be happy with the outcome. And here's the last one. And yes, I've had a paper I've been looking at this entire time. The last one is one that I've experienced personally speaking. And this one can hurt for some people, especially people with low confidence. Judgment. I have been judged since I decided to leave the company that I work for to become a gig worker, but I didn't leave that company. The company closed my department and is outsourcing international to the Philippines. For those that do not know, I work for TELUS. TELUS is a multi-billion-dollar company, and it was a great job that I had for 7 years, but the problem is they closed my department. They are currently on the verge of a strike, and they have been outsourcing, and they closed my department. And I haven't spoke upon where I worked for privacy and concerns, but it doesn't matter anymore at this point. Since I left TELUS, when people are like, oh, well, you work for such a big company. Yeah, I did, and I made good money. And now that I left it, some people that love me the most have turned around and judged me for it. If you're an individual that's not like judgment, be prepared for it. Because all people look at you as is, oh, you just deliver food for a living. No, there could be a lot more into it. People could be doing this because they have no choice. People could be doing this because they're paying student loans. People could be doing this because they just immigrated to Canada, for example, since I'm in Canada. There are so many reasons that people can be doing this that does not have any category to be judged for. But people are judgmental. So you're going to have to keep these things in mind when it comes to being a gig worker. I'm not saying it doesn't have benefits. It does. It does. And I'm happy with what I do. But you need to take these things into consideration. I am somebody that likes to help out brand new gig workers in this gig economy, and I wouldn't be doing so without giving you these tips.